the thing with Bob was, I was a teenager when I was his gopher, on the campaign trail. And the only reason why he broke 25% was because of me. Whatever young people and wrestling fans and whatever that I mobilized to get him to vote for him was because of me. He only got 20.5%, and the only reason why he got those 2.5% was because of me. Because we rammed that thing pretty hard down people's throats, and nobody voted for him. So it was like, after that, it was kind of like, okay, go in the Hall of Fame now and just go have a garden or, open a gym or, go live your life, And, after 2000, 2001, he was still trying to get his spot back. And that's what the campaign was about, was him outselling the WWE in T-shirts at the WWE event so he could prove that he was still viable and could get a spot. From his own words. From his own mouth. And he got sick, after the Hall of Fame in 2013, and everybody kind of dispersed around him and just kind of was like, okay, you got to go get some help now because you're in trouble. But, that 20 years, he just spent it trying to get his spot back. And that's a shoot. I mean, he did. That's what he did. Even when he had an oil business, he didn't have a business. He had a job. He delivered home heating oil. He had a job. He didn't have a business. I mean, even on his oil truck, if you Google it, it was the logo of the WWE. But it said Backlund Oil or Backlund Energy, but it was in the same style, the same gimmick as the WWE logo. And his Hall of Fame speech that lasted 2 hours, he was trying to get over in the Garden to get his spot back, to get a spot, to get, and working for TNA, he made all these demands down there and, started marching in parades just to get on camera, the people reacting to him and all drunk and everything. And, he never helped anybody. I don't know where Maria Menounos got that from. He never helped anybody. That was insanity for her to say that. Insanity. He never helped anybody. He used people to try and get his spot back for 20 years. That's all he cared about. It was sad to watch. And I was his friend and everything, and I'd hang out and go get a drink and all that stuff, but I rarely did any projects with him. He would just find some mark with a camera or, whatever. And I had a freaking $10,000 editing suite in my office, and he would try to, worm his way in there and try to, get me to do stuff. I'm like, I bought that with my own money for me. These are my reels, these are my sketches, these are my, public access bits, these are my wrestling bits, these are my short movies, these are, like, I invested in that to invest in me. I didn't do that for anybody else. No, I didn't do any music videos for bands or reels for wrestlers or, edit shows for promoters or any type of, weddings or whatever. I mean, that was for me. I mean, I think in less than 5 times I did something like that. And even when he started working for the Savoldis and he got me in with the Savoldis or wanted me to whatever with those creeps, I said, Bob, I'm a manager, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Well, you can edit. Or you can edit the shows for him. For the Savoldis? On public access in Maine? First show I did commentary for 3 hours. They paid me in a bowl of chili. I drove 7 hours to Maine. One way. Yeah, that was the first and last time I ever did anything like that with him. I don't know where that comes from. That he did nothing but help people his whole life. I don't know where that comes from. That's so bizarre that she would even say that. Because it's not even close to being true. He helped himself to get over. Even long after the wrestling business was done with him, all he wanted was his spot back. He wanted that more than anything. And he bombed. He bombed in the 90s. The only people that gave a shit about him were crossover wrestling fans like me, like as far, comedy crossover fans. Which, thank God, most of the wrestling business isn't a crossover comedy fan. But the only people that liked him or thought he was funny or cool or whatever were people like me that thought he was funny. That wasn't the same crowd in the Garden in 1979, When wrestling was done with him back in 1984, he bombed until he turned heel and started yelling and screaming, and the comedy fans thought he was funny. That was it. He didn't have a wrestling fan base. It was just comedy fans. Thought he was funny. And Maria and Kevin Menounos. And a couple creeps around Harford County. I don't know. I wasn't going to get sucked into that because I had my own thing going. But I just... I felt bad for him that he couldn't just go into the Hall of Fame back in the early 2000s and just go have a garden, that he could walk away. Because he wasn't anything without the McMahons. He never was anything without the McMahons. Never. Tried to be. But even then, it was just trying to get back with the McMahons. To get over. To get a spot back. I don't know, man. I felt bad for him. I did. I really did. The helping people thing just always just was so depressing. I don't even know where that came from, man. It was just so depressing. I don't know. I was trying to think of something else to say. I had another story to tell, but I don't even care. It was just such a waste. He could have helped people. He could have went into the Hall of Fame, after 1997, and if you want to run for Congress, great, run for Congress, and then whatever happens, and then just go be like, Jack Briscoe. Just move on. But he couldn't walk away. He was nothing without the McMahons. He never did anything worth talking about outside of the McMahon family. Outside of WWE or WWF or WWF. It's a shame. It was really a shame. And now he's, got dementia and we'll never know. I don't know. Whatever, not my life.